Hello there. No, this isn't Morgan Freeman. This is just some dude on the internet, and you are listening to Just Some Podcast, brought to you by Just Some Content LLC. Today's episode is all about artificial intelligence. Please subscribe and share. Thanks.
Hello, everybody. I am just some dude on the internet, but you can call me Steven. And today I am met with a special guest, my friend Peter, who is a software engineer. We both work in software. Go ahead and say hi, Peter.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Yeah, I have been having conversations with Peter off and on for the better part of 2 years, I would say at this point, about artificial intelligence.
Yeah, absolutely. At least.
Both of us are software engineers. We've been in the industry for at least half a decade at this point. And we were there for the turn of AI coming around the corner. So we know what it's like to write software before the advent of artificial intelligence. And we've been seeing it through. We were early advocates, and now it's progressed at such an exponential rate. We've been talking about doing a podcast recording like this for at least a year at this point. So I'm glad that it's finally happening.
Yes, thank you. I have been in it. I think we've been having conversations for at least 2 years. I kind of jumped in it right before ChatGPT 3 launched. But just like in the last 6 months, so much has changed that, like you said, it is exponential, and it is wild how much better it is getting. To take it back, I kind of first started looking at the generative language models, and just usually you could pop out some kind of rough high level information, you want to type a paper and it might give you a very rough outline. In the last year or so, I would say probably with ChatGPT 3.5, I think that's when things really started to kind of accelerate, because that was kind of able to go a step farther than, some basic things. That's getting into code. That's getting into, a little bit more abstract ideas generation that might not be, freely available to do quickly. We're talking distilling hours of work into seconds. So a lot is changing very rapidly.
Yeah. And for those that are unaware, ChatGPT was the first one to kind of hit the ground really running back in 2022, I believe is when that first really started hitting the marketplace, where, hey, there's a generative AI that we are able to interface with. For those of you that are unaware, GPT actually stands for something. It stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So that is a type of artificial intelligence model that's used for natural language processing, which is really, really good for having colloquial conversation like we're talking right now, right? So it's not, we're at a point now where people are using, these GPT specifically type models to engage with in normal conversation, troubleshooting everyday tasks and things of that nature. And it's very, very good at coming across as human, although it's not. Wouldn't you say, Peter?
Yeah, it is at the point now where I kind of personify it so much. The way it works with the transformer model, it's not sitting there thinking, it's basically just taking in a bunch of tokens and getting really good and at predicting what the output should be. But now that we're at a point where it's becoming kind of agentic, and these kind of reasoning and thinking models are kind of becoming popular, where, it's kind of close to it self-prompting itself and able to kind of refine with itself before giving that one-shot answer that was kind of the standard before, I would say, 6 months ago.
Yeah, it's like a multi-layered approach where it's attempting to dissect a little bit more. For those of us that have made use of, GPT Plus as an example, because I know that there are several different tools that exist out in that space, but GPT Plus over the course of the last couple of years has released models in increasing complexity. So the very first model that came out was that GPT-3 or GPT-2? I think it was 3 was the very first one that in 2022 that we were interfacing with before 3.5 and 4 and all of that stuff came out.
Yeah, I had a couple conversations with GPT-2 and it was pretty rough. But 3 is when I started using it a little more consistently. 3.5 definitely was a kind of a exponential leap forward in my opinion, and then it's just kind of gone from there. Recently They've come out with like the O3 models. And they were giving a presentation I saw on Twitter the other day. And I thought it was interesting because they asked the same question. I think it was like, why is the sea salty? And they asked it to every single one of their models from ChatGPT 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.0, what is it, O1, and now O3.
Yeah, O3 is the newest.
And just the quality, has been just dramatically improved. The, reasoning and inference is just exponentially better. The opportunities and use cases are pretty much endless now.
Speaking of just like how these AI are used, we talk about in software engineering, there's this term like tokenization of sentences, right? So like whenever you're writing out a whole bunch of text, how on earth is this thing able to discern what the hell it is that you're talking about? And through that is tokenization. So like your sentences are chopped up into these tokens. Those tokens are then, pumped through this algorithm and analyzed, and out comes, the resulting fibers of this thing's brain, if you will. If you could kind of think of artificial intelligence or the concept of an artificial intelligence audience as what is called a neural network, right? Mm-hmm. Your brain makes a lot of decisions. So if we were trying to emulate what it means to be human in what we're calling AI at this point, right? Let's just think about this. If I, as a human being, were invited by a friend to go to like a concert for something, right? My determination of whether yes or no I would go there would probably, be weighted differently based off of a bunch of different factors, right? What is the location? What band is playing? What is the weather outside? How long is the concert? And all of these different factors have different weights in my decision-making process. And then, those neurons fire and out comes my decision. And bam, there it is. And we're going to the concert or we're not going to the concert. That is a completely simplistic example. But if you could think of artificial intelligence as just like a massive, massive graph of all of these different neurons that connect to one another, and those connections between each of those neurons, you can think of as those like decision points, right? And like different weights are applied to go through this weighted system and come out the other end of like what the answer is. So, but it's on a scale that is drastically more complex than like the 3 or 4 inputs that I've just given you. Think of like billions, trillions, things along that line.
Absolutely. And, tokenization, I think, is at the heart of, kind of the next step is these models getting higher and higher context limits. So just to kind of bring it back quickly, like you said, tokens, basically, you give a block of text to ChatGPT, it's going to take that and tokenize it. And I think the rule of thumb is kind of 0.75 tokens to 1 word. So, it kind of breaks it down to certain things like that. And if you put an emoji, that could be a couple tokens at itself. But, basically, they also then have context windows. So, you may be able to give it 10,000 tokens. But some models, and obviously they're a lot higher now, but a couple years ago, it might only be able to process 6,000 tokens and give you a response back that's 4,000 tokens. We're getting at a point now, where it's getting a little nutty, where Google Gemini Flash just came out, and that has a 1 million token context window. So you can give it, God, I don't even know how many books that is. Hundreds and hundreds of books, and it can find a needle in a haystack in about 2 minutes. That's super useful for large sets of data to pick out little things. Just the amount of man hours that is saving overall across the board in our society is just really mind-boggling.
And you're hinting, Peter, at kind of where I wanted this conversation to lead to. I know we could stick all day talking about different models and the way that they work and all of that, but I want to try to tailor that conversation toward. Right now, you could think of this as a time capsule, right? We're in 2025. It has been, just 2 years of using this generative pre-trained transformation artificial intelligence, and we've seen in 2 years how it has exponentially changed. If I were a betting man, I would bet that in 5 years' time, at 2030, we'll look back at this recording and we will be blown away by the evolution of not only the artificial intelligence itself, but what it has caused society to become, evolve, into to change how it affects multifaceted parts of our life. And that's kind of where I wanted to turn the conversation a little bit more.
Yep, absolutely.
Moving away from the conversation of just AI models, right? I want to take a step a little bit broader, and I want to think about the blast radius, if you will, of artificial intelligence.
The blast radius is every single person on Earth. I mean, I think this kind of technology is going to be more transformative to our society than the internet was. I mean, it can impact every single facet. Okay, so let me kind of start from the beginning. I think people have a idea that the future is kind of just an extrapolation of the present. But when you're dealing with technologies that are exponential, like AI and all the different converging fields, I mean, you look at things like CRISPR in the biomedicine field. I mean, they're doing incredible stuff here. Look at applied engineering and what they're using AI for, and chemical engineering, and coming up with all sorts of stuff. It's not just an acceleration in people being able to code. We have a converging, almost every single scientific field converging into what has basically been called a singularity. And I think the world is going to be completely affected in every way. And I think right now, people don't understand, well, how can AI affect society? Everyone kind of hears these horror stories. And, they just think that Terminator is going to come one day and bust down their door and they take their job. I think just like the internet, it's basically going to transform the jobs we do. And the jobs we do, basically, we're going to have to be good at asking what we want. Let me use Elon Musk. Forget, about him as a person, but what he's doing with the Tesla Optimus humanoid robots. And then you plug even the current ChatGPT 4.0.01 models, Claude 3.7 in there. I mean, I think they would be able to get pretty darn far if you gave them an extensive set of humanoid API features that they could use. And that is already at the cusp. Right now, it's kind of, you just chat with ChatGPT, and people think AI is just kind of some glorified chatbot when it's not. And an AI is it means so many different things. And I kind of think of simply, how will society be affected? Well, think of everything you do that you don't necessarily want to do, but you need to do. People's jobs can fall under that, doing chores around the house. You will be able to, across a various, means, be able to basically automate every single aspect of your life. And then eventually, when you get things like Apple Intelligence, I think is going to be a big kind of game changer just because of the market adoption that the iPhone has. When people get some kind of intelligent guidance, people change their behavior.
For the good or worse. It's a double-edged sword. It really is.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Along those lines, so you were, when I mentioned blast radius, you were out the gate talking about, look at all of the different aspects of society that this is going to hit. And I think that in and of itself just really goes to show how big of an impact this thing has. And along those veins, I have a question that I'd like us to discuss, because we see how big this is, right? And that question is very, very vague, but I want you to think about it, and I want you to give me your honest response, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's hear it.
When artificial intelligence supersedes the intellect of every human brain on this earth, right? That's what we're talking about, the singularity. At that point, what will our purpose as human beings be?
A vague question, and a common question that I don't think anyone's figured out yet. I have obviously heard this question. I've thought about it a lot, and it's kind of, I think, going to be person dependent, because it's kind of asking the person, what is the meaning of life? I think it goes back to being able to just do what you love. I mean, it's basically, the question is, what is life in a post-scarcity society look like? When you have every single one of your needs met, plus some, what do you do? And I think the common kind of consensus, and obviously, no one can predict the future, but go paint a picture, go walk in nature, and just do things you love. Spend time with your family. Go walk your dog. You just kind of have the things that you feel like are a burden in your life removed.
That's a good way to phrase it. I'd like to even narrow that lens a little bit. going from everybody and all of our purpose, I want to kind of hone in on different sectors of purpose, right?
Okay.
I don't believe that artificial intelligence in and of itself is going to wipe out all employment all at once or anything like that. But I think that we will have to kind of come to a point where humans have more synergy with technology. Along those veins, every single person on this earth, if you're sick, if you've got a broken bone or something bad like that happens to you, we have medicine to turn to, medical professionals that have been trained over the course of many, many years and have certifications stacked to the ceiling and just a lot of formal training to become doctors, surgeons, things of that nature. So I'm going to pose this question first before diving just a little bit deeper. How will medicine itself evolve?
Oh, well, this is an interesting question because my fiance is a doctor.
And my fiance is a nurse.
Yeah. So she's obviously would probably give a different answer than I would. I think that will be one of the last fields to have kind of let's say the last mile problem solved. And that is, I think they'll be able to automate up to 80%. But I think even if, let's say, an AI could possibly do it better, let's say general surgery, I think people are just going to prefer to have a human there. Because I don't think anyone is going to feel comfortable just leaving their fate up to someone that is not a someone. I think that's just kind of a scary thought for people.
That's interesting that you should say that because my next follow-up question kind of is a counterpoint to that question. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, diving a little bit further as to how it will affect medicine, how will medicine evolve? I want you to imagine a world, well, I don't know what year it is, but in sometime in the future, in which artificial superintelligence again is at the forefront. It's in every major industry that we have, and let's focus on medicine. And remember, I just said that there's doctors that go through many, many years of clinical work and training and testing just to get into the field that they are in, and only to have
decades.
Like residencies, and it just gets further and further and further. Well, at the tail end of their, all of that work, they are instilled with a lot of knowledge. But what if we are in a world where, with a certain degree of certainty, surgeries can be performed by robotics operated by artificial intelligence, and proportionally, if we said percentage-wise, those surgeries by those robots tailored by artificial intelligence are more successful than those that are conducted by human beings, human surgeons. So my question there is, will it be ethical for humans to perform surgery or to practice that form of medicine if the artificial intelligence at that point proportionally makes less mistakes than the human?
Yeah. I mean, and it's the same question of self-driving cars, in my opinion. I think, first of all, I'm not sure. And I think, at least in the medicine and the practical sense of the question, insurance companies, if it's safer, is going to make everyone do it. That's a great question. I don't feel like it's unethical, but depending on the difference of error rate or what could go wrong, it might not be ethical to allow that if someone's in the position to put them in the safer option. But, we're going to have to wrestle with that question of where do we give up control? And do we feel comfortable giving up control? But I suspect that we're going to have to give up control regardless, because I think just administrations and bottom lines of how the money is spent is going to kind of push this into the adoption realm. So I think it's going to be a matter of how we adapt and kind of react to that when it happens. And in my opinion, these are not questions that are 5 years away. I think it's interesting that people have like here's my 10-year AI plan. I'm like, well, you better, half that minimally.
Yeah.
It makes sense because, gosh, for the last, let's say 10,000 years, people have had to only think linearly. And especially in our current times, my parents have only seen linear growth, kind of Moore's law. But now we're hitting exponential growth. So people who are sitting there taking that linear line of thinking, that is going to be an issue of realizing that the timing is going to be way off if you're planning that way. I know a lot of people want to position themselves correctly for kind of the AI quote unquote revolution, but time frames like that are definitely going to bite people.
Yeah, it's kind of weird how this is like an echo of the creation of the internet, right? Like trying to explain to people back when the internet was created, like, oh, it's just a bunch of computers that are connected that allow us to talk to each other. And, people in that time period were like, ha, 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 I'll take my pen and paper. Thank you very much. And then you fast forward 100 years and like, it's pretty standard for everybody to have a computing device, even, all the way down to the point where it's in your hand. What we have in our hands right now is more technologically advanced than what we used to send us to the moon.
Oh yeah, it was like my microwave is more powerful than the Saturn V and Apollo program.
Did Apollo run on Java? I don't think so. No.
Yeah. Lame. You could do better, NASA.
And it's funny that you were talking about giving up control, and what is it that we want to give up control on, and to what degree? And I think that that's interesting because you also brought up self-driving cars. And I know you and I have had this conversation with others before, and they had mentioned something that I think is a pretty good point. I'm of the opinion that when it comes to fully autonomous vehicles at this point, that you either have fully autonomous drivers and no human beings driving cars at all, or you just have humans and no autonomous vehicles. Because whenever we mix the two, I think is whenever you get a really high level of what is called entropy, randomness, stochasticity, if you will, where robots and artificial intelligence, they have their algorithm that determines what they're going to do at any given moment. Human beings, if you've ever driven in a car on a freeway, you probably understand that humans kind of suck sometimes. We're impatient. We want to take shortcuts. We're sporadic in our patterns, in our thinking, unpredictable at times. So imagine that we're all on the road. Some of the cars are self-driving and some are not. I think that to a certain degree, that AI, while it can be reactive to human patterns and behavior, it's not always going to be spot on. And I mean, like, we can go back to the early example of Uber, that self-driving vehicle in Arizona that had run over somebody and killed them. And that was
on a bicycle. I remember that.
And I mean, that was a tragic event, and there's a number of factors at play there, but that just goes to show that the technology itself is not perfect. But giving up control, right? Like, let's kind of lean into the idea of a society that gives up control, and we allow ourselves the freedom of, we don't need to drive anymore. Okay, so what does the drive to work? What does how far away do I live from the office? Things like that. Those questions begin popping up, and the answers to them change. But one of the interesting things that I think that we've spoken about this before was, in a world where all of those cars are self-driving, autonomous, there's also probably a certain level of what we call IoT, Internet of Things connectivity, where these vehicles on the road are communicating with one another at an accelerated pace. Like if you're driving on the road and you're looking at somebody to your left or your right, like you have your interpretation of what they're going to do, but you don't really know, and you're reacting, right? Imagine we have this web on the road that's live at all times, and all of the cars are communicating. They know when someone is accelerating. Maybe we're all going the same rate, and that rate might be super duper fast beyond, what we're reasonably willing to drive at, where right now our speed limits are, 65, 75 miles an hour on the freeway. You're on the Autobahn, you can have a really good time. But in that world, I think somebody had told us they believed that the cars themselves wouldn't have windows because we would likely be going so fast and coming so close to being in contact with one another that we as passengers would be petrified. And I'm curious what your thoughts on that type of world look like.
I'm pretty sure that's Minority Report. You've seen that movie where it's just, kind of this like tubes you almost ride in that goes hundreds of miles an hour. I think, will we get there? Yeah, I do think we'll get there. Don't think that's going to be in 5 years, because I think what happens when the technology moves faster than what society can react to. And that kind of, I think, is at the center of this kind of giving up control for self-driving, which I think is going to happen in like different aspects of society. But I think just the self-driving one right now is just the most mainstream version of this because it's the most immediately in our face. I mean, we don't want just the car stalking. We want sensors in the asphalt. We want cameras, on the lights to communicate with our cars to say, hey, they're around the corner. Both Teslas can't see up. There's a little bunny hiding around here. Also relay that to my car. That'd be great.
Yeah.
And like you were saying with that self-driving car that hit that woman and killed her, which tragically, I lived right around the corner from that in Phoenix when that happened. I remember being shocked because I saw those things all over. And, obviously it's kind of a gray area on what happened there. And I think every single one of these cases of a self-driving car getting in any kind of accident seems to be a gray area. But I think even if we combine self-driving cars with humans, I would bet, and I don't have the data in front of me, but I'm pretty sure it shows that overall it's still going to be less deaths. Are we going to have situations where a human or AI does something unpredictably and kills someone? Unfortunately, yes. But overall, we might see a total drop in road fatalities. Tens of thousands of people a year die horrifically in car crashes. And, if we can eliminate even 10%, any 1%, any life saved, worth it. But I agree, humans do act unpredictably. But that's kind of where we do want the AI because, while I'm sitting there driving to work and you're sitting in the lane next to me and, whatever, one of us is texting, we're blaring music, we're not on our game even, when we should be, where the AI is always going to be on its game.
Instantly
it's never
available.
going to be distracted. And, it's probably based on the amount of training data it has at this point. Tesla, I'm sure, has collected an absurd amount. It's going to have a pretty damn good guess on what it should do next based on the criteria. So I think the data supports it, that it's going to be the right move. I think we're going to run into a resource issue of producing that many electric cars far before we have the issue of outlawing gas cars.
Yeah.
Just because, electric cars take up so many more electronic components.
Yeah, and we're not at that stage yet. There's just too much transitioning from, the old to the new that has yet to be determined, and it's a little bit of a ways off. I think I agree with you on that sentiment that, like the self-driving vehicle bit. I mean, like that at that point you're probably, likely involving the government, because we have to find a way to regulate that type of thing. This spurs the next layer of the onion in this far future where the singularity in this, how smart the artificial intelligence is. Imagine a world in which the judicial system, those determinations that a judge would make, would we ever see a world in which a human being is replaced by an AI in that regard?
Definitely think it's possible. And, it would probably give us a lot more consistency across the board, at least predictable.
It depends on how the data
depends
on how the data is trained, right? That
exactly.
is why it's such a scary question to ask, because if that model is trained, on, I don't know, like just historically white data, maybe like how white people were sentenced versus how black people had been sentenced over time, I would wager that, you could see some unexpected behavior if that were the case. These are some of the things that we haven't really mentioned yet to the audience, that this artificial intelligence right now, even GPT itself, it can lie. It can create things. It can manifest things out of nowhere and state them as fact, when in fact they are not. So I think that that's quite a scary idea to think about, the judicial system having AI baked into it, because are we at a stage where we can fully trust it at that point? That's definitely not where it is right now, but that's...
Yeah, definitely not where it is right now. I do think with a lot of this and kind of our gut reaction of like, oh my God, like I couldn't imagine an AI judge. I think there's going to be a lot of desensitization that happens. I think if you ask someone in 2000 and say, would you ever sleep with your phone? Like they'd be like, what? And
My
like
phone's
this
on
morning,
the wall,
I woke
bro.
up with my phone blaring under my pillow at me, intentionally. So, I think we'll just get so much more used to it. And, once it proves itself out more and more, and like you were saying, I mean, I don't think these things lie, but they hallucinate and they are confidently wrong. And that's the reason you see every single one of those chatbots underneath it. It says, XYZ chatbot can make mistakes, so verify the answer.
And as a software engineer, my God, the amount of times it can be horribly wrong.
Yeah. Yep. And especially when you're doing something like programming, where it's like, I need to have consistency across possibly thousands of lines of code. If you lowercase that one letter on this line, it could break things and it could take me longer to figure out what you did wrong rather than me just do it myself in the first place.
Oh my God, yeah. Had I just sat down and read the goddamn documentation, I would have saved myself an hour worth of, this is incorrect. Hey, let me point out the flaws in your response to try to train you better. And it's like, have you tried this? You're like, I just told you that was not the answer.
And I think training and pre-training of these models, and there's a ton of different ways that you can train them. And I'm no, forefront AI testing expert. But, Google Gemini just came out with their version, and their hallucination rate is extremely low. And, they also, Gemini uses they use Google's basically search engine to base itself in reality to kind of double check that what it's saying is not just kind of lunacy. And that's where I think these kind of agentic models, because it's no longer, you ask it a question, it gives you a response. It's you ask it a question, it thinks about it, kind of prompts itself. I mean, it goes off and, really kind of refines itself now. It's getting more and more complex and on what they can do. So, a lot of change possible.
And kind of talking more about, we've talked a lot about like, well, where is this headed? How are things going to change? Let's talk a little bit about how things are currently changing. There's a lot of change happening right now and how this technology is affecting the way that we work on a day-to-day basis. It's affecting the way that we consume our media. I mean, God damn, if you've been on Instagram lately, how many AI slop videos have you seen?
I'm
there,
convinced out of everyone, I'm convinced that Meta, so Facebook and Instagram and whatever else they have, that is just entirely AI generated at this point. I feel like anytime I go on there, I'm like, is any of this real? Or is anyone commenting on this? Even
I would not put it past Meta to be like, yep, this is our platform. I think they even said that like they're creating like artificial intelligence personas on their social media. It's that right there is kind of, I don't know if I want to say it's a step too far, but I feel like it would be wonderful to be able to isolate a space where it's like, this is, that you're engaging with humans. And at that point, you might as well just talk to somebody in person.
Interesting. Yeah, no, that's absolutely. How do you in the future verify that who you're talking to is a human?
And even because,
I think by this summer, I think we're going to have AI that is going to be able to fool us pretty damn convincingly.
Oh yeah, I remember back in like probably 2013, 2012, somewhere around that time period, where the first concept, first concept of deep faking really kind of was brought up, and specifically, I remember it being surrounding like Obama, right? Obama's voice, and it was I think Jordan Peele. It was speaking, pretending to be Obama, but the AI was able to change his voice. And he was standing in front of the camera too, I think, right? So it was like, it looked more like Obama too, if I recall correctly. But you're talking about how AI can affect our social relationships and social engineering. Scammers and scams are going to become something that we are not anticipating and ready for. I say that to kind of put people on edge a little bit. I want you to think about this, audience. Have you recently received a phone call in which you answer and you say, hello, and you begin talking and nobody is responding, and you're like, yeah, is anybody there? No response. Well, I'm going to hang up now, and you hang up. Odds are that you were just recorded and your voice is being used as part of training an AI model, and those scammers like to use those models off of your voice to scam others. What is the perfect target to these people? People that you love, people that you are connected with, elderly people that are not aware of how this technology is changing. Imagine that you've answered that phone and you're speaking a couple sentences to this nobody and you decide to hang up. And then all of a sudden, the model has been generated off of your voice and they get in contact with your grandparents or somebody that maybe you haven't spoken to in a while, and they pretend that they are you and that they need help of some kind. And they will leech those people. It's very scary to think about, but it's actually here. I am at the point that if I see a call that doesn't have any caller ID, don't answer it. They'll leave a voicemail if it's important enough. But even so, when you answer, we're kind of at a point where it's weird to say this, but like you might not want to be the first person to say hello anymore when you answer the phone.
I've been disguising my voice. I'm like, hello.
It's actually a pile of hams in a trench coat.
I'm breaking the model they have on me.
Oh,
I'm gonna make them sound really good. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think, what does the nature of, kind of online scams look like? Because even now, like my parents will send me things, my dad will send me things, and he's like, is this spam? And, very clearly spam. I'm like, man, if that's, kind of fooling people, you can do some way more impressive things. Especially like you're saying, voice and things like that. Because people, I think, it's not even of a certain age, it's just kind of their exposure. They don't even think about that. Like they would never answer their phone and think, oh no, someone's going to record me and train me in a large language model and then mimic my voice.
That's not something
call my
that
grandma
you're
and ask for
prepared
a grand.
Yeah.
Like, no one's like, oh, they wouldn't do that to me. I'm like, you say that until it happens. And it may not happen to you, but it, could happen to your aunt, your uncle, your mom, or your dad.
It's actually already happened, to staggering degrees. I actually was looking up scams and I kind of wanted to share 2 examples, at least, that I had found so that we can discuss this. Are you familiar the AI Brad Pitt story?
I am not.
You are not familiar with it.
I am not. Oh God.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, here's the title for you, Peter, right? And this came out January 15th of 2025. I'm looking at BBC.com right now. I'll attribute this to them. The title says, AI Brad Pitt dupes French woman out of 830,000 euros.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, boy, indeed. The article begins, a French woman who was conned out of 830,000 euros, which is approximately $850,000 by scammers posing as actor Brad Pitt, has faced a huge wave of mockery, leading French broadcaster TF1 to withdraw a program about her. The primetime program, which aired on Sunday, attracted national attention on interior designer Anne, 53 years old, who thought she was in a relationship with Brad Pitt for a year and a half. She has since told the popular French YouTube show that she was not, quote, crazy or a moron, unquote. I just got played. I admit it. And that's why I came forward, because I am not the only one. A representative for Pitt told U.S. outlet Entertainment Weekly that it was, quote, awful that scammers take advantage of fans' strong connection with celebrities, unquote, and that people shouldn't respond to unsolicited online outreach, especially from actors who have no social media presence. Hundreds of social media users mocked Anne, who the program said lost her life savings and tried to take her own life 3 times since the scam came to light. Netflix France put out a post on X advertising 4 films with Brad Pitt for real, while in a now deleted post, Toulouse FC said, "Hi, Anne. Brad told us he would be at the stadium on Wednesday, ... And you?" The club has since apologized for the post. On Tuesday, TF1 said it had pulled the segment on Anne after her testimony had sparked a wave of harassment, although the program can still be found online. In the report, Anne said her ordeal began when she downloaded Instagram. Oh, sweet Jesus. There it is. We're talking about Instagram. Downloaded Instagram in February.
Brad Pitt's like, you up?
In February 2023, when she was still married to a wealthy entrepreneur. This woman had her life already taken care of. She was sitting pretty, and she was married at this point. She was immediately contacted by someone who said they were Brad Pitt's mother, Jane Etta, who told Anne her son, quote, needed a woman just like her. Somebody purporting to be Pitt got in touch the next day, which set off alarm bells for Anne. Quote, but as someone who isn't very used to social media, I didn't really know what was happening to me, she said. At one point, Brad Pitt tried to send her luxury gifts, but he was unable to pay customs on them as his bank accounts were frozen due to his divorce proceedings with Angelina Jolie, prompting Anne to transfer 9,000 euros to those scammers.
Boy.
Quote, like a fool, I paid. Every time I doubted him, he managed to dissipate my doubts, she said. The requests for money ramped up when the fake Pitt told Anne he needed cash to pay for a kidney cancer treatment, sending her multiple AI-generated photos of Brad Pitt in a hospital bed. Quote, I looked those photos up on the internet, like she reverse searched them, but couldn't find them. So I thought that meant he had taken those selfies just for me, she said. They were generated, by the way. That's why she couldn't find them. So they were unique just for her, just on the other end of a prompt. Meanwhile, Anne and her husband divorced. She was awarded 775,000 euros, all of which went to the scammers. I told myself I was maybe saving a man's life, Anne said, who is in cancer remission herself. Oh, the plot thickens. She herself had cancer and she was giving money.
Makes it worse.
God. Anne's daughter, now 22, told TF1 she tried to get her mother to see Reason for over a year, but her mother was too excited. It hurt to see how naive she was being, she said. When images appeared in Gossip magazine showing the real Brad Pitt with his new girlfriend, Ines de Ramon, awakening suspicions in Anne, the scammers sent her a fake news report in which the AI-generated anchor talked about Pitt's exclusive relationship with one special individual who goes by the name of Anne. Ooh.
Oh my God.
Talk about a mindfuck. That's just completely messed up, man. Okay, so and we're almost...
right when I thought I'm like, oh, she's gonna learn her lesson. She's like, but then they sent me and they pulled me right back in.
When they pulled me right back. The video comforted Anne for a short time, but then the real Brad Pitt and Ines de Ramon made their relationship official in June of 2024 and decided to end things. After scammers tried to get more money out of her under the guise of, quote, special FBI agent John Smith, Anne contacted the police. An investigation is now underway. The TF1 program said the events of Anne broke and that she has tried to end her life 3 times. For that, I'm so sorry, Anne, for that. I hope that you're well. Why was I chosen to be hurt this way? A tearful Anne said. These people deserve hell. We need to find those scammers. I beg you, please help me find them. But in the YouTube interview on Tuesday, Anne hit back, saying it had left out her details on repeated doubts over whether she was talking to the real Brad Pitt, and added that anyone could have fallen for the scam if they were told words that you'd never heard from your own husband. Anne said she was now living with a friend. My whole life is a small room with some boxes. That is all I have left. While many online users overwhelmingly mocked Anne, several took her side. I understand the comic effect, but we're talking about a woman in her 50s who got conned by deepfakes and artificial intelligence, which your parents and grandparents would be incapable to spot. One popular post on X read, an op-ed in newspaper Liberation said Anne was a whistleblower. Life today is paved with cyber traps, and AI progress will only worsen this scenario. That is the end of that article. So you weren't aware that that had happened.
I had not heard of that at all. Couple thoughts. I think I'm going to take the side of, I'm not going to give her, kind of a I told you so type answer. I mean, these are people who have no idea that this kind of stuff is a possibility. I mean, these are people who are trusting. I mean, everyone wants to be loved and be accepted and, want to feel wanted. I mean, those are base human emotions. And I think for some people, it's hard to realize that in this world, I believe true evil does exist. And at least minimally, maybe just be a little critical sometimes. And maybe that makes me cynical and think in this kind of world, you need to have a slight critical thinking type lens that you kind of view, which is unfortunate. Because I mean, that makes kind of even husband-wife relationships can be affected by that. So yeah, I mean, I think it's an awareness issue. I said businesses are looking at a 10-year plan for AI. My dad thinks it's coming in like maybe 30 years, if not, might not happen. I just don't think people expect it. And even if we say, hey, this is going to be more transformational than the internet took like 30 years to really roll out. It was a slow rollout.
And now people are finally making money online through drop shipping on Amazon.
We made it.
I got a course to sell you. No, I'm just kidding.
But, AI is not the internet, and AI is going to be implemented in a couple years. The majority. I mean, not that it'll be fully integrated, but like, I think we're going to live in a weird world for a while where advanced, almost super level intelligence tools are widely at the fingertip of a select few, where other people will ignore it, and another portion of the world, unfortunately, won't even just get access to it.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you bring that up, because that is a thought that has been in my head as we've been having this conversation, is about like the class disparity, right? Like there are still places in this world where people don't have internet access, like, and that should be a uniformly available thing. And as this divide, right, like those in places that have mainstream adoption of high-speed internet we live in a very different society than those farther away from that. More physical labor required to, even just get yourself water, like on a day-to-day basis. Like you're probably definitely not thinking about what the internet can do for you at that point. You're more focused on your survival. But I think AI is that on steroids, where it's like, look at the benefits, how we can utilize this in a productive manner to help us. It's crazy, the disparity that will come from that. I think that we will see that, because while I want to believe that human beings have the best intentions, I think that history shows that there are lots of greedy few people out there that would love nothing more than to control that entire arm and ecosystem for their own added benefit. And it doesn't matter to them if there's, those that don't have access.
Yep, absolutely.
Getting really deep and philosophical there. I did want to touch on, there's like a couple smaller examples of those, of how AI has been used in nefarious ways, right? So we just talked deeper on that one person. And Anne, if you're out there, I am so sorry that this has happened to you, because you didn't deserve that. Those are horrible, horrible people. And, best advice, kind of like Peter said, is take I think here's the best one, right? Temper trust with distrust. If anybody reaches out to you out of nowhere on the internet, do not trust them. They are not who they say they are. If they solicit you with an advertisement, you click on it and you are contacted by somebody, do not trust them. Never give anybody thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars through the internet at all, unless you are buying something from a business and you know that it's real. Best advice I can give. I hope that you're doing well, Anne.
We love you, Anne.
We love you, Anne. We hope that you're doing okay.
Just quickly on that topic, I think honestly, it's going to be AI that solves that for us. It's going to be like anti-spam AI, basically. I think it's going to be kind of the defense to that in the future.
Yeah, you think that like Apple Intelligence, hey, we've detected that this is an artificial intelligence we are speaking to.
Yeah. Yep.
Cut the call.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or we're going to have a lot of trouble in society. But we might. I mean, look at. We haven't even mentioned quantum computing. I mean, what does the world look like with AI?
Oh, Peter, you and
I
mean, we got plenty of conversations to have. We're gonna at some point down the road, we're gonna be talking about crypto, folks. It's not this episode.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta get those crypto engines going for Peter. He'll tell you all about it.
And that's kind of scary in the world because it's not just, oh my God, AI is coming. It's like we got like 10 different things all converging at once. I mean, it is absolutely wild. And I don't really think
it's disorienting.
Society has even come to terms with how rapidly things are going to change, because they just view the future as an extrapolation of the present. So if the present's good, the future probably will be good too.
The best example, dude, when you and I were in elementary school, I vividly remember teachers telling me, you will never have a calculator in your pocket.
Yeah.
And I mean, not to say that you shouldn't understand basic arithmetic, but like, we do live in an age like where that is possible, where they were predicting based off of what we currently had at the time.
Yep. And like, even now, like, you know, I was talking to my niece and she's taking some college courses. She's in a computer class, and you know, they're teaching like very basic like word type things. I mean, they're teaching like 2000 tech from like 2000. You know,
wow.
It's kind of, and if like you even mention AI, it's like, oh, they must be cheating. Get them out of here. It's like, you know, we're setting up everyone to fail by not talking about this. I mean, this should be a forefront topic. Because, you know, I think it's going to change and it'll affect a lot of jobs, and not just, you know, I don't think it's going to leave 30% of our population just kind of sitting in the street with no jobs, but, you know, the jobs that we have will change. You know, I think there'll be a very quick, dramatic shift on the type of jobs available and, you know, what that looks like, especially in like corporate business and financial kind of aspects.
Yeah, it's kind of like how when the computer came around, you know, data entry was a big thing. It was like, we need people to put this data into this machine so that we can use it. And we got people to help, you know, view the data, query the data, you know, do all that stuff. And here we are in a world where we've automated a lot of those processes, right? And a lot of us, at least, you know, in our generation, I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for you. I tend to be somebody that, you know, if I can interact online through some digital means, aside from going to, you know, preventing myself from driving to go someplace to do it, I'll probably be more likely to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we're in a ever increasing digital world. And, you know, I think with someone our age, we are technology natives. We grew up with this tech. You know, we gravitate toward it naturally, where older people, I think, are more technology pioneers. This technology kind of...
The analog version, you know?
Yeah, it's like they've seen, you know, the kind of the front end evolution of this, but they didn't have access to it from a young age. And just from a human evolutionary standpoint, and, you know, how we grow up and learn, I mean, that makes a difference on how we react and treat it and how we think about it. You know, our line of thinking is much more digital first.
Yeah.
So I own a business, Bluegrass Digital Advantage, and it's a digital solutions provider. And what I'm trying to do with this is I'm trying to end-to-end automate a digital solutions business, from marketing, from, you know, lead nurturing, from actual service creation, value add work, to billing, to informing me, every single piece of it in automated workflows. And, you know, even with today's tech, I mean, absolutely powerful and crazy on the kind of workflow automations that you can do now pretty much for free. I think you have these massive corporations that move very slow, but I think, you know, since we're moving in such a rapidly evolving world, it's going to be the people who could pivot. It's going to be the people who can adapt. It's going to be the people who can capitalize on the mind-boggling tech advancements. People who use it are going to beat people who don't, probably 10 times out of 10. So Bob Dylan said, the times are a-changing.
Yeah, and it's kind of wild because I think that you and I see through a very similar lens, and comparatively, I've spoken to people out in the real world, and I asked them, hey, how do you use AI? And their natural response is, oh, I don't. And I'm a little bit taken aback. Oh, you don't? You don't use it at all? No. I'm like, oh, I'm kind of at a point where I use it every single day for various tasks. And just like Peter, obviously, I have a business, Just Some Content, LLC, producer of this podcast. And I have to do a lot as one person to be able to record these things, come up with ideas, edit things, trim things down. And there exists a plethora of tools in today's day and age that, while not perfect, they can help with that sense of creativity, where I don't have to hire an entire production crew to be able to achieve some of the things that I would like to achieve thanks to artificial intelligence. And particularly, I'm shouting out into the void to all of my neurodivergent people out there that love to learn things. Artificial intelligence is just a godsend for that. I am a curious person. I want to know about 50 different things at the same time. And AI is the most patient, caring person that you could speak to. It'll answer everything. And I use AI to help learn some of these tools. I spoke in the first episode that I had been using some of my equipment for about a year beforehand, before I'd ever recorded that episode on the podcast. And, I make music and stuff. Well, how I've been able to learn at an accelerated rate is by probing artificial intelligence, helping simplify and summarize things. Hey, am I able to achieve such and such with such and such tools? Can you give me 5 different tools that could achieve such and such, and summarize them, give me links to them? So I use it as a partner, a thought partner. Don't necessarily take it completely at its word concretely, but by incorporating in some way, shape, or form AI into your decision-making process or your learning process, I think that you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you don't even use the free tier. Because, here's the best example. If you're like me, sometimes you struggle to think of recipes, use AI. Ask the artificial intelligence, I dare you to do something like this, because it's worked out perfectly for me, where I'm like, hey, I would like a dinner for 2, a recipe. For dinner for 2, 4 servings. I would like to begin cooking it at this time, and I would like to be done by this time. I need you to give me a recipe or a series of recipes that I can pick from, narrow down, that would fit within that time frame. I need you to help me understand all of the ingredients, and then I want you to generate me a timetable of do this at this time, and this is when the meal will be ready. And I kid you not, I've done that, and we made the best. It was chicken pot pie soup that we had made, and to the minute, it was done exactly when it was supposed to be done, and it tasted phenomenal. For me, I can default to the same recipes over and over. So using something like an AI to directly infuse some creativity, give me some options to choose from that I'm not used to using, and then walk me through the process of making that meal. And it becomes a better, more fun, engaging process where I'm not a culinary expert. I'm not a chef, but I can benefit off of, this pre-trained data that has been trained off of all of the internet's, opinions of food and recipes and things like that exist. It's an interesting thought if you have not tried it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's I've heard a lot of people as kind of like their soft intro to AI. And I think that's a great one. I always say, once you get that meal, ask it to give you the history of every single one of those ingredients, and then ask it to create a video of those ingredients dancing on top of a mountain. I mean, that's why I love your comment about, for curious people, AI is like a godsend. And I'm always shocked on how much resistance that, I hear of people with AI. It's kind of like there's almost some kind of like stigma. And I think that's just so unfortunate. And I think the other kind of thing that I've heard is like, oh, well, you're never going to have your own thoughts ever again, and AI is just going to tell you kind of what to do. And, since I'd say in the last 5-6 months, I really, really dive into AI. And I feel like I'm, thinking of better ideas. I'm thinking more than I have before, because, the first skill that you need to learn to really leverage AI is prompt engineering. And that's going to be, everyone's going to be really good at prompt engineering in the next couple of years. And that's a great skill right now to learn.
Explain what that is.
You need, learning how to instruct the AI. So not only can it not give you the answer, because you need to be able to articulate what, answer you want. And I think that's just a kind of a powerful thing, because, it's not a kind of anymore about, what you learn. It's being able to know how to learn how to learn. And that's why I love AI, because I can learn about, like you said, 50 different things at once, run great prototypes in minutes on ideas that I have. Like last night, have you ever seen, I think there's an app called Spritz. And it's basically like
not.
you give it, I don't know, like a paragraph of text, and it, very quickly shows one word at a time. So you can like almost speed read. Have you ever seen anything like that?
I have not, no.
I think it's like some kind of speed reading technique where if you just show rapidly one word at a time, you can read at like 500 words a minute plus.
Here's a description of it. Spritz is an innovative app designed to enhance reading speed and efficiency by scanning written content from websites and visually reading it back to you at speeds of up to 1,100 words per minute. It uses a patented rapid-fire single-word display feature that is fully adjustable, allowing users to train their brains to read faster. The app minimizes eye movement and fatigue by streaming individual words through an isolated display window, improving reading speed, comprehension, retention, etc. Wow.
Yeah, so and it works. It really does work, and I used the tools before, and it's really cool. But I wanted to use one last night. I couldn't find like a free one. So like I asked Claude. I said, "Hey, can you create me a Next.js Tailwind app that's basically a speed reader app?" And it did it for me in 30 seconds. It created a fully working, just as good version as Spritz. And I was like, this is incredible.
And as a software engineer, you're like, I
completely
can
generated from scratch.
Springboard.
And, that's, yeah. And I want to take, I want to be able then to take an idea like that and develop workflows where I can share that with the world. Like, hey, I created this thing in 1 second last night that I can host 100 projects for $20 and everyone could use it. And it's great. Throw a little buy me a coffee thing at the bottom if you really want. But it's just like the nature of open source in the future is going to be incredible. Like what AI can do, especially like I think Claude 3.7 right now is really good at making some pretty creative, cool stuff, especially in web development.
Oh, absolutely.
It's amazing what you could do. Amazing.
We've been talking for a little over an hour. I'd love to be able to see if we can ask artificial intelligence some questions, and hopefully this will work.
Let's do it.
And you'll be able to hear it. I've got some models in front of me. The audience, I'm not sharing my screen or anything like that. We're going to engage with the voice of ChatGPT. So I'm going to be speaking to ChatGPT. It'll be able to hear my voice, pick up on the intonation, the inflection, and all of that. And then it is going to be speaking its response back to me. I think that this is going to be a really good way to kind of highlight what this tool will do without me sitting and reading a whole bunch of responses. But we've got a couple of models that we should choose from. I figured that we could start with a simple question and see what it will do with it. We got these AI voices in front of us. So we have Soul.
Hey, how's it going? I'm looking forward to working together.
All right. So we got Spruce. That's calm and affirming.
Hello. It's lovely to meet you.
What's the first one?
Hey, what's up?
That's the one I use. And it's weird because I think of her as like a friend, even though she's an AI, which is weird and bad. Another topic we should discuss.
It is not able to hear your questions, Peter. So we're going to use Soul. I'm going to get the conversation started, and I can mute it in between. So that way you and I can talk about what's going on and we can provide feedback to the AI. Sound good?
Yeah, great.
All right, cool. So we're going to go with Soul as the voice that we're speaking with. This is ChatGPT 4.0. And I am a premium subscriber, so this should hopefully be the advanced voice mode. Hi.
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking.
Oh,
How about
my
you?
apologies. I didn't even ask you how you're doing. How are you doing today, Soul?
No worries at all. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. When about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually on a podcast right now with another software engineer friend of mine, and we've been talking about AI.
That sounds like an interesting conversation. What aspects of AI are you discussing?
We were discussing what we thought human beings' purposes will be after artificial superintelligence. And I'm curious, could you give me your take on that question?
That's a fascinating topic. In my opinion, human purpose might shift towards creativity, emotional intelligence, and areas that require deep human connection and empathy. Superintelligent AIs could handle many logical and analytical tasks, leaving humans to explore new realms of experience and innovation. What do you think?
I think that that's a pretty spot on answer. We were talking about it, and we also agree that we think creativity is going to be at the core of our future and our purpose.
Absolutely. Creativity is something uniquely human and endlessly valuable. It's exciting to think about how we might evolve alongside advanced AI. Are there any specific creative fields you're particularly interested in?
Let's change the conversation a little bit. Instead of talking about that, I was wondering if you could help me out answering a simple question. I want you to take something complex and distill it into something simple, okay?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to help simplify anything for you. What's the question?
I would like you to explain to me what a black hole is as if I was a kindergartner, because I have no idea what a black hole is or how it works.
Sure. Imagine a black hole as a super duper strong vacuum cleaner in space. It's so strong that it can suck up everything around it, even light. But don't worry, it's super far away from us.
Can you explain quantum computing to me as if I was a kindergartner?
All right. Imagine you have a magic box that can solve really tricky puzzles super fast, much faster than any normal computer. That's what quantum computing is like. It can do many things at once, making it super powerful for solving big problems.
So far, that's our dialogue with this artificial intelligence. What are our thoughts on it so far, Peter?
It's very conversational. It's definitely not the verbose output as an actual chat would be. I played a lot around with the 4.0 advanced voice mode, and it's fun. It's useful for I put it on even in the car driving sometimes just to go back and forth with it. It has this role. It's not going to solve. You can't ask it what the meaning of life is, even though I did like its answer. But I think it just kind of shows where we're at, and with that, I mean, I think. You could tell it to speed up its voice, slow down its voice, talk like a robot, talk like a pirate, tell me a story about AI
Hey there.
tricking someone. Oh, there she goes. She's back.
My bad. I accidentally clicked something.
No, I do that very often. But I just think this is kind of the future of how we're going to interact with this. It's not going to be us typing it in. I think the last type of modality this is going to be in the future is typing. Because typing is just way too slow. I think voice is a more interactive option, but still slow. And from there's a couple other options that gets into maybe brain neural interfaces, which another topic for another day.
Just to show everybody the difference between that 4.0 and a different model, we've got, let's do a new chat here. 4.0 is good, but now they have 0.1 for advanced reasoning, 0.3 mini, fast advanced reasoning, 4.0 mini.
Those models don't have the advanced voice mode.
Okay.
Those are the reasoning models.
Yeah, and I kind of wanted to use that, even though the voice mode isn't the same. I wanted to show the difference in kind of how deep it might think. We talked about the role of human beings in society. Let's ask another poignant question that we have here. Ready? I'm gonna flick it over to 0.1, which uses advanced reasoning. And I'm going to ask it a question, and it's going to break it down for us. Hi there.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. I wanted to ask you a tough question and see if you can give me some feedback on what your thoughts would be. All right. I would like you to break down for me how you think artificial intelligence is going to impact politics globally.
Artificial intelligence is likely to impact politics in several ways. For one, AI can enhance data analysis and decision-making, allowing for more precise policy development and prediction of societal trends. It can also improve public services and streamline government operations. However, there's also the risk of misuse, like in surveillance or spreading misinformation. How do you see AI playing a role in politics?
It always loves to end with a question for you.
Yeah, it loves to toss it back at us. It can go deeper and deeper the further that we go.
And chatting usually goes a lot deeper. I think OpenAI limits us with the tokens with the voice, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But context limits are only increasing very rapidly, so that's good. Like, that was the advanced voice mode, and they must have added it recently to 0.1, which is awesome. One thing you need to be comfortable with in AI land is always being out of date on everything.
Yeah. By the time you wrap your brain around something, another new model has come out and it's like way smarter than the last one. And we're breaking barriers. This was one of those things where it's like stuff seems to be progressing on a weekly basis, and that's quite unheard of at this level of technology that we're working with.
Mm-hmm. I think things are moving so rapidly, the technology and the development of the technology. And I think there's a lot of people, the accelerationists, who are pushing for more AI, faster, super intelligence me tomorrow or yesterday. There's people then who obviously are very nervous and kind of cautious around, this kind of technology. But in my opinion, the accelerationists are winning hands down. I think, unfortunately, money is driving this push. There's huge business value and potential productivity that can come from this. Definitely will come from this. So people are pushing. But we need to be careful because we can't adopt the technology as fast as it's developing. And that leaves companies like Google and OpenAI and Meta at the top of the most powerful technology in the world. And honestly, I don't think they're at the top of the food chain with this AI stuff. I think the U.S. military is leaps and bounds ahead of them behind the scenes. And I think they have been for a minute. And we haven't even got into what does nation state AI kind of interaction look like. I mean, China wants to eat our lunch with AI, and they would love nothing more because, I mean, whoever can harness the power of that first, that's a huge global effect. And everyone's vying for it.
And I think that conversation, like the political side of it, that we could have an entire podcast episode on.
Oh, and we should.
We very well might. Before we get to those type of conversations, though, I think that we've done a pretty decent job thus far of kind of introducing the audience, kind of explaining, how maybe we're using it day to day, some of the pitfalls, to be wary of. We've engaged with an AI, and we're getting kind of toward the end of this episode, I think, but I would like to turn us toward one last use of AI that I have found really inspiring and fun. If you've not listened to some of the AI songs that come out, oh my goodness, it is quite the hoot. So there is an Instagram, it's called There I Ruined It, lovingly destroying our favorite songs. I believe that through some of my research looking at his page, he does seem to sing in front of the microphone, but utilizes what I would probably deem as artificial intelligence to change his voice. Some of these might be script to text, not necessarily sure of his entire in and outs of his process, but there's about 3 of these that I wanted to pull up because I thought that it was just a banger way to end this episode.
I love it.
Peter, are you familiar with Nickelback?
Oh, yeah.
What song comes to mind when you hear Nickelback?
Look at this photograph.
Oh, it's funny that you should mention that because I have a song about a photograph by There I Ruined It. So everybody listen to this beautiful, beautiful song and think about how AI is used in its voice, please.
Look at this photograph. It's a photo of a photograph. There's another freaking photograph because I photographed a photograph. So many photographs makes me want to take a photograph. I should probably hang that photograph next to my photo of a photograph.
Oh, now it's the phonograph.
Look at this phonograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. Hear the sounds of the ragtime dance. All the gals wanna get in my pants.
But back to that photograph. It reminds me of the photograph before the photo of that photograph, when it was just a normal photograph.
How could you not want to push full force for AI after hearing that?
Yeah.
Like, we need this now. Oh man, there's so much funny stuff.
This is 50 Cent. You can call him Conway Fitty, and he's singing Tight Fitting Jeans.
You can find me in the club.
It's supposed to be 50
A
Cent.
bottle full of bum. I'm into having sex. I ain't into making love. So come give me a hug if you're into getting rough. Go shoddy, it's your birthday. We're gonna party like it's your birthday. When I pull out out front, you see the Benz on the dubs. When I roll 20 deep, it's 20 nights in the club. My flow, my show brought me the dough that bought all my fancy things. My crib, my cars, my clothes, my jewels, and tight-fitting jeans.
I love that. Add that to my Spotify.
It's pretty good.
That is good. It is good.
And then I got one more. There's like a bajillion of these. You could listen to them all day. I'll send you a link and you can listen to them. But this has got to be AI and him just doing some audio processing. I think that this was a good one to end it on. Don't Stop Me Now, extended. And
Extended.
It's going to take some twists and turns I don't think you're ready for. So imagine Freddie Mercury, Don't Stop Me Now, extended.
Tonight, I'm gonna have myself a real good time. Cause I'm having a good time, I'm a shooting star leaping through the sky like a tiger, defying the laws of gravity. I'm a racing car passing by like Lady Gaga. I'm gonna go, 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 go. There's no stopping me. Galileo, Mama, I'm traveling at the speed of light. I wanna make a supersonic move. Don't stop me now. I'm having
That was
such a
Taylor
good
Swift.
time.
Oh my God, I love what people are creating.
Having a ball.
Yeah, and we could go on and on and on. That was There I Ruined It on Instagram. Please check out all of his stuff because it's phenomenal. The guy's got 2.4 million followers and just destroys music that we love by integrating it with artificial intelligence.
I love that. AI Freddie Mercury can slide into my Instagram.
Well, with that, friends, thank you so much for listening into today's podcast. I know this was different. We're talking about something technical. And honestly, Peter is one of those people that I'd love to speak more about tech with because we're both tech guys. So keep your eyes peeled in the future for more episodes. I know that we're probably going to be speaking, like I said, about cryptocurrency. We might have more deep talks about artificial intelligence and how it's affecting the world. And there's a good chance that in the future, we might have some conversation about politics because it's great to listen to what other people's thoughts and feelings are about the world. They all have their lived experiences and they're unique. Just because you think a certain way doesn't mean that you're a horrible person. So we're going to be there to prove that concept out. Peter, I want to thank you very much for spending some time with me, talking about this, taking some time out of your day, because I know that you're a couple hours ahead of me. Is there anything that you'd like to leave the audience with? I know that you had mentioned that you have a business, so feel free to mention that business again if we can send some people your way.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this, and we definitely should have some more conversations because it's a brave new world, and we can't cover it in an hour and a half. There's so many different facets to this that we should explore. But yeah, I do know Bluegrass Digital Advantage based out of Lexington, Kentucky. So find me online if you ever want some small business websites or online digital solutions and automation, and we can go from there. Steven, I really hope that you have a good one. We talk soon.
Until next time, everybody, I'm just some dude on the internet. Thank you for joining me.
Well, that was just a hoot, wasn't it? On behalf of this AI Morgan Freeman voice, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining me. If you could click that like and subscribe button, maybe even the share, that would be so helpful. Titty sprinkles.